I don't know if I've ever gone into exactly what has been done to this engine, but as far as horsepower guesstimates, I'd say the motor probably puts out, let me show you something. Sitting back here in the corner, and it has been since I've started this channel, is I made a trip to Tractor Supply, which is my favorite place to get bolts. Yeah, I may have went overboard. Don't judge me. Nope. I really needed a 5.5, but they didn't have a 5.5. They had 5 and 6. Probably just going to have to cut the original bolt. Whew. Still really close, but I think I'll have just enough room. I'm not going to do a full repaint on the engine. I'm just going to touch up some areas that need it to stop the corrosion process, because I think down the road there's going to be another time when I'm going to pull this engine back out. You never know. Or maybe that will make an appearance. That's been creeping in the background since I started. Make your guesses. What do you think it is? You're probably right. So focus. I want to get this done, and then we'll worry about what's coming next. Unless, you know, some crazy deal falls in my lap, and you know how that happens. That bracket's taken care of. Now, this. Stay. Anytime you look at an F-body, pay attention closely to the rear spoiler sections. Probably a good 70 to 80% of them have misaligned spoiler pieces. I don't want to be that guy. So that's where we are. Let me get my master key to open the trunk here. Here's my problem. Do you see anything wrong? All these are fine. Oh, it's about bad. Are fine. And then we're missing 3. That is where this comes in. This is 1/4 20. This should just thread right in there. When you hear a big snap and crack, you know you've gone far enough. Honestly, there's not a ton of thread engagement, which is kind of concerning. Really did seem a little loose. Yeah, it's chipped away. Now we need a way to put these in here, because I don't think that just threading them in there is going to do it. Still got a lot of play. It'll be a little bit before that's set up and good enough that I can put back on the car and test fit, because of, well, that. Oh, look at that. Nice. So it's a little high right here, but I think you can see when it's pulled down, it's tightened, it should take it up. Look at this. T-shirt. Man, okay, so when the weather starts to turn nice, I get like energized and stuff. Even though I actually don't feel great. I don't know if it's the weather and all the ups and downs that we've had. It was like 40s, it was 30 and 30s and snowing yesterday. It is 63 right now. So I've been taking advantage of the nicer weather. I have the doors open. I still have that on because I've got some paint things drying. And that's what I want to show you. I didn't have time to really grab the camera as I normally would. I wanted to take advantage of as much time as I possibly could to dedicate to the little things that have been sort of the hang-ups on the car. I got a lot of the stuff taken off the motor that was in the way so I can get it repainted and cleaned up, and I took care of all that rust that I told you about. Hit it with some OSFO that you saw maybe if you watched my last video. Got the carb taken off, and I got the valve covers cleaned up. I didn't bother taking the plugs out, didn't bother masking off the head bolts or anything like that. I actually didn't mask anything off. This stuff comes off really easy with acetone. So if I get any overspray on anything, just a little bit of acetone on a towel, wipe it off, it goes away. I got the alternator, all the brackets cleaned up, taken care of, and painted, and they are over on the rack drying in front of the heater. Another big thing, I got this all cleaned up, recoated, And I went ahead and sprayed this all black. I tried to roll with it just like it was bare casting, and I'd already painted all this stuff anyway. It was rusting. I even clear coated it a couple times with some automotive clear just to try to maintain that factory look. But then it hit me. I think it would be a really good contrast with a vibrant blue engine against it. Also, there's another reason. Very soon, I'm going to be replacing it anyway. The added power in this car and the stock brake setup is just not going to work out, I don't think. It might, I don't know. I've driven the car a handful of times, but not when it was running like perfect. I know there's still a lot left in the tank, so to speak, as far as this car goes. So anytime you go fast, you got to be able to stop just as fast. It's disc in front, drums in the rear. It's a tired brake system. It's outdated and all that. I have some plans for some other things too. So let me show you. The original booster from '74. So it will be replaced. It works, but I want to go with more high performance. The master cylinder is a super cheap replacement. I want to upgrade the suspension on this car, like all the way around. So it has new shocks on it. That's fantastic, but I want to do like QA1 stuff. Tubular control arms, maybe 2-inch drop up front. It does sit a little bit high. And in the rear, going with like a coilover setup. I don't know just yet. As it gets nicer and nicer, I want to be closer and closer to just being ready rather than screwing around with all this little stuff that I could have done up to that point. I don't know if I've ever gone into exactly what has been done to this engine, but since it's sitting in front of me and it's all kind of exposed here, I'm waiting for things to dry, and again, I'm sort of in a rush to do all this stuff, but I do want to just point out what is done to this car. So those of you that don't really know what you're looking at, you don't know Pontiacs, because they are sort of like the bastard stepchild of the GM world.
I'm not going to call him Dad.
Would not expect you to call him Dad.
Well, I'm not going to, ever. Even if there's a fire.
BOP, Buick, Olds, and Pontiac were kind of the oddballs. The 400 came about as a 389 that was stroked with a 428. The 428 became the 455 and made upwards of just shy of the 400 horsepower mark and just shy of about 500 foot-pounds of torque in some cases. And that's what they were known for. This is a 74 400. You can see the 400 stamps here, and the year are all stamped right back here by the distributor, which from the factory with a 2-barrel was like 185 horsepower. Nothing to brag about. But you're talking in the mid-70s, so nothing really made a whole lot of power. You swap in a 4-barrel, you were in the 225 horsepower range, just by that alone. As you can see, these heads are stamped 1-3. So these are 13 heads. These aren't the factory heads. These came off of a 69 big car, GTO, Grand Prix, something like that. And as far as most people can figure out, and this is still a spot of we don't really know for sure, 12 and 13s are the exact same head, and the 12 heads were Ram Air heads. So these aren't branded as Ram Air heads, but they are the exact same thing. They are screw-in studs, dual valve spring, big valve, small chamber, the 72cc chambers. So that means that static compression ratio on this is going to be like 9.5 to 1, 10 to 1, somewhere around in that area. The other things that are done to it is a 69 GTO dual plane 4-barrel intake, roller tip rockers, and a comp 268 cam, which is the comp's version of like a slightly different grind of a Ram Air 2, Ram Air 3 cam. This is basically a high-performance 400 that you'd find in a GTO with just a slight little tweak. This is a Rochester Quadrajet, which should be 850 CFM if it's stock. Now, I don't really know if it is. So this came off of, I believe, a GTO. It was rebuilt by a local guy who used to build drag cars. It found its way onto a 77 Trans Am that was totaled, and then my dad, about 20 years ago, bought the engine out of that car, swapped it into his 78 404-speed Special Edition Trans Am, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a Smokey and the Bandit car. This found its way, along with that intake, to my uncle, who then loaned it out for many years to a guy who had this on a Ford truck I've gone through it and I've made it work and I've vacuum tuned it and all that stuff, and it seems to do fine. We'll see. I don't know. That's something. But I do have to clean it up, probably go through it once again before putting it back on the car. As far as horsepower guesstimates, I'd say the motor probably puts out close to the 400 mark. At the wheels, you know, 320. But close to probably 500 foot-pounds of torque. So that's where it feels stronger than really what it is. With that said, let me show you something. Sitting back here in the corner, and it has been since I've started this channel, an LS engine. Now, it's not a true LS, I guess. It is a 5.3, which in this case is an LM7, which means it's an iron block, aluminum head, 5.3 liter LS architecture, not an LS engine. But for all intents and purposes, as far as customizing go, the 4.8, 5.3, 5.7, 6.0, 6.2 interchange almost everything except for when you get up to the LS7 because of some slight differences. But you can make them work, and the only big differences are whether it's iron block or aluminum block, square port, and cathedral port heads. And some people get hung up on cubic inches or liters. The 6.0 is way better than the 5.3 or the 4.8, but in actuality, dynos have proven this. There's not a huge gap in performance in some of those, and they all can basically be woken up to produce close to the 600 horsepower mark with basically the same money. So if you can get yourself a 4.8 or a 5.3 for half the price of a 6.0, then, you know, that's just... Don't take me as the expert by any means, but look for yourself to just confirm or deny that. I think the brackets are nice and cooked, so I'm going to put them back on before I forget where the bolts go. Get this wrapped up. I'm getting hungry, and it's getting late. I'm getting cold. I'm going to call it for today, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for hanging with me. You want to keep up on the Trans Am? Nope. If you want to keep up on the Trans Am and some of the other projects that I've got going